Okay, hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the basics of saluting. All right, so this little short mini series, Saluting 101, is going to give you everything you need to know about the salute in the United States military and how to properly do it, a little bit of its history, and also when you should properly do it. All right, so the first video in this series is just going to be simply the proper form. We're just going to be going over the correct way to actually render a salute, which, believe me, I didn't know was going to take a whole video, but it actually does. So let's jump right into it. All right, so here, if we scroll down, we have our very trusted Midshipman X. Now, in this image, Midshipman X is doing an immaculate salute, if I may say so myself. He's looking very handsome in his SDBs, and he's rendering a beautiful salute. I have outlined 6 what I believe are central components of the salute. So take a moment right here to pause the video quickly and see if you can come up with at least one, because there's a very big hint on this page. Ideally 3 would be excellent if you could. All right. Okay, so I'm going to assume you've taken a moment to pause and have a think for yourselves. Now let's dive right into it and explore the central components of the salute. All right, so number 1. For the Navy, number 1, the most important one, I think, is probably the fact that he's wearing. Actually, you know what? Scrap that. Let's jump right into the one that I think you should all have noticed and all have gotten. Like I said, there's a very big hit on this page. If you didn't notice, there's a great big white circle right here. I'll get it right there actually later, so I might get rid of that arrow. This big white circle is enclosing what we call a knife hand. Now, this isn't necessarily the most important thing in the salute, because if you have a bad knife hand, you could potentially get away with rendering it a salute. But, it's important. And I'm, like I said, tackling this one first because, great big circle, big hint. Most of you should have got something along. Hopefully, most of you got something along the knife hand as your first answer. All right, so let's break it down. So the knife hand, as someone explained to me once, it's sharp, it's dangerous, it's lethal, it's ready to cut somebody. You should be able to kill. It's a knife hand. It's dangerous. So that's what you should be thinking about when you're making a knife. You want to be dangerous. You want to be knife-like. So all the fingers, as you notice here, they're all tight. They're all close together. The palm is, perfectly extended in line. It's straight with the wrist. Thumb is, flat against the knife hand. And like I said, it's tight. It's lethal. It's a knife. Now, moving on. Okay, let's put that in our essential list quickly. Knife hand. All right, now moving on from the knife hand, and you know what? Let's actually progress naturally. Oh God, I messed up his hand over here. It looks kind of silly. Can we fix that? No. We're making it slightly worse. All right, we'll leave it. His hand looks weird in this video. Whatever. Okay, so right here, we're going to move on, and naturally from the knife hand, the next part is the arm. So as you notice, his arm is going to be completely straight. It's going to be completely straight and completely in line with his knife hand. And the rest of his arm, his forearm, sorry, is going to be straight and in line with his knife hand. The rest of his arm here, his actual arm, is going to be parallel to the deck. So this is actually incredibly important because, in the movies you might see people, rendering a salute where it's like, 2 fingers and their arm is like, just barely like 45 degrees from their arm, and they're just they just flick their hand to their wrist and flick it away. That's not how it's actually done in real life. In real life, we put effort into our salutes because the salute ultimately at the end of the day is about showing respect to your superior. And, if your arm is canted at a weird angle, like that, for example, let's say that was his arm. If it looks like that or something, and it's like that just looks sloppy and lazy, it looks like you can't be bothered to lift your arm all the way up to salute somebody, and that's the opposite of a show of respect. So number 2, we're going to put arm parallel to deck. And I apologize if my handwriting is slightly bad. I'm trying to not waste too much time in the video writing, so I'm doing everything quickly. All right, moving on to number 3, and continuing with the theme of, I guess, this whole side of his body. We're gonna go with this thing right here. Now, this is a slightly harder thing to notice, but this also is incredibly important. It's about where your hand finishes relative to your face when you're saluting. You know, in the movies, you know, you might see people, like I said, you know, they're driving in a Jeep and they're just, you know, waving their hand near their face and they're flicking their wrist away or something stupid like that, something that looks cool. But in real life, you're running a salute, your hand goes all the way up to your eyebrow, or it goes all the way up to the right brim of your cover if you're wearing a cover. I almost said cap right there. It's not a cap. It goes all the way up to the right edge of your eyebrow if you're wearing a cover that doesn't have a brim, and it goes up to the right edge of your cover if you're wearing a cover with a brim, like Midshipman X here. Fun fact for those of you that don't know yet, this is a combination cover, and honestly, it's my favorite cover in the Navy. Okay, that was a little aside. So let's say this is number 3, number 1, number 2. All right, number 3 is hand comes to eyebrow / brim, right side. And it's right side for both, you know. I should make that really clear. Right side for both of these. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next one is a pretty big thing. Let's stick to the theme with this whole hand deal. All right, next one is going to be the hand. Now, in the British military, in Her Royal Majesty's military, you might see people salute like our good friend here, Lance Corporal Lipton. See, Lance Corporal Lipton is showing the wrong way to salute in the American military. He's rendering an open palm salute, as you can see here. I've marked out. His palm is facing you. Now, there's a couple reasons why we don't do this in the American military. So, you look here, just to remind you, you know, hand is flat. It's a knife. You're seeing the edge of his hand. And Lance Corporal Lipton, open palm. Now, one of the reasons we don't do this is simply because of tradition. We fought the Revolutionary War against the British, and at the time of the war, a lot of our, we didn't really have our own unique military traditions. We were a fledgling nation, and a lot of our officers and enlisted men, were former British sailors and British soldiers, like notably George Washington. And so as such, we got a lot of our traditions from the British, but also to differentiate ourselves from the British, we made a clear effort to do stuff like this, where we were saying, nope, we're going to turn our palm so it's facing the deck. Another reason why we don't do this is a sign of respect. It is considered to be disrespectful if you're showing a superior officer a dirty palm. As you can imagine, if you're on a ship or anywhere else really working, your palms get greasy and blackened and dirty, and it's viewed to be disrespectful to show a dirty palm. Now, I don't think anybody is actually ever going to call you out on having a dirty palm, but they are going to call you out just for looking sloppy. So as far as you're concerned, the reason you're doing a correct closed palm salute is because you are trying to look good. All right, let's make a note of it quickly. That's the wrong color. I don't want to use that one. Red. Palms towards deck. All right, now, number 5 is going to be the combination cover, the cover in general. Now, in the U.S. Navy, we don't salute if we are not wearing a cover. That goes for anything, really. Yeah, self-explanatory. Don't need to say more than that. Always wear a cover when you're rendering a salute. It's just how we do it. there is one potential exception. So in the Army, I think they're allowed to render salutes without a cover on. And potentially the Air Force as well. I'm not too sure about that one, but I'm only saying the Air Force because they get a lot of their traditions from the Army. If you're in the presence of an Army officer, a high-ranking Army officer, or really any Army officer or Air Force officer, and you want to look extra respectful, I mean, you can, I guess, get away with rendering a salute uncovered. You're indoors, you're walking to a meeting with a general, for example. You can get away with rendering a salute uncovered. Yeah, so that's about that. But in general, the caveat to that is they should, be well informed or at least somewhat apprised of our naval customs and traditions. Number 6, we're finally moving away from this side of Midshipman X's body. We're moving on to this exciting side, Midshipman X's left side. Number 6 is his left arm or her left arm. The Midshipman X doesn't really have a gender. So, there's an X on his or her face, and he's wearing a uniform. Can't really tell. Anyways, we got a left arm. It is straight, and the elbows are pressed into the hips. It is tight to the body. It's not loosey-goosey. It's not flapping around. There isn't any space right here. Everything is neat and tight and tucked away. And if Midshipman X had a hand, Midshipman X's hand would be in a fist. Pretend this is a fist. And Midshipman X's thumb would be on the top facing outwards, like Midshipman X is holding a roll of quarters. But, in reality, it's, you're making a fist. So it's a rudimentary fist right there. And I guess instead of putting your thumb here, you're putting your thumb, I didn't want to do that, did not want to erase. Instead of putting your thumb there, you're putting your thumb here on top of the fist. Kind of like you're doing a fist pump maybe, or whatever. I don't know. Those are the rules. Let's see. Let me make a note, sorry. Left arm, tight to body. So yeah, those are the 6, I'd say, essential components to a good salute. Please do let me know if I missed something. But otherwise, if you follow these rules, you should be looking sharp and ready to go. Oh, one more thing I did want to mention before we go. So regarding the paw, rule number 4 right here. Like I said, it's best to, show the flat side of your hand. You're showing the edge of your knife. What I would say is if you're shooting for the edge of the knife, like a lot of stuff with military drill, it's always a little bit better to overemphasize it, because if you're shooting for perfect, there's going to be times when you don't actually get perfect. So it's better to shoot for safe. And shooting for safe would look like you're showing a little bit of knuckle on your palm. Let's say this is the edge and these are the knuckles. You're showing a little bit of knuckle towards the officer that you're saluting. It's always better to show a little bit of knuckle rather than showing a little bit of palm. So another way to describe this, think about this, is your palm is slightly angled in towards your face when you're rendering the salute. Slightly. Different people have different standards, obviously. You can't always please everyone, but if you follow these rules, you should be more or less good to go. All right, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.